Hi, I'm Bob Lowe. I'm president of the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. For this week's update, I'd like to tell you an advocacy program that we've embarked on with the Canadian Federation of Agriculture and the Canadian Pork Council. The focus of this will be with our urban customers. It's going to start in Toronto and Vancouver with the goal of raising awareness of the food supply chain within Canada and hopefully creating a sense of pride with our urban customers in Canada's food supply chain and their food, leading to maybe a little bit more of an awareness within government and appreciation for the food supply chain. Along with this, our public and stakeholder engagement group will be rolling out a campaign to coincide with CFA1, and it will designed to complement it, but focusing solely on beef. So we'll see how this works. It's a kind of a new direction for CCA, but we feel that there is a window of opportunity where people are thinking about food to really start promoting the food supply and appreciation for the food supply.
Good afternoon, it's Brian Perry with CanFax for Thursday, May 14th. Just here to provide a bit of a market update for today and this week. Continue to see some positive developments and movement on the slaughter capacity constraints. All the packers in Western Canada now processing, some, only at half or maybe a little over half, which is positive. Seeing some cattle move south now as well with Pasco, Washington, and other cattle moving south, as well as cull cows continue to move south. So we're starting to see a little bit of movement in through the supply chain. Eastern Canada continues to slaughter at a good rate, which is supporting their market out there. Certainly a stronger tone with these cattle moving through. The larger packers were on the market very lightly, maybe not buying certainly not buying all the cattle that were offered to them, but certainly propping up the market well above, the 180, 190 range on a dressed price last week. We're now seeing rail prices up into the 220s, 225, and even a little stronger on the odd load. So that's definitely positive as we get cattle moving through the supply chain, and feedlots got some pens or bunks to fill. Certainly supportive to the feeder market. Anything out to grass is strong, but even some of the heavier feeders picking up, demand's picking up, and volumes remain quite moderate. So certainly some positive developments this week. Hopefully continue to see further expansion or further pickup in the kill rates this week and going forward, and we look forward to more market support.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rick Wright from the Livestock Markets Association of Canada. This week at the auction marts, lighter deliveries across the board. We're at that time of year when a lot of the mixed farmers are out on the fields getting ready to start planting, and the cow-calf guys are getting their cattle ready to go to pasture. We did have good news this week, though. We finally saw that demand outlasted the supply on the feeder cattle market, and that resulted in higher prices on a number of classes of cattle. Some of these feedlots are getting more fed cattle into the plants. That gives them some pen space, and they seem to be very active in replacing that inventory at the current prices. We saw great increases on the flat 800-pound steers, about $7 to $10 per hundredweight increase this week. On the 9-weight cattle, we were anywhere from about $3 to $5 higher. On the grass cattle, still remaining very strong. We're seeing about 3 to 4 heifers for every steer that's coming to town here right now. Everybody's topping up on their grass orders here right now. We're seeing quite a few wet nose balling calves coming to the markets, and they're bringing anywhere from about $7 to $10 less than the preconditioned wean calves. On the cow market this week, we saw bigger deliveries across the board. Most of the auctions reporting about 150 to 250 cows at the markets, and the prices were steady to completely strong. They were able to absorb those bigger volumes with no problems. The American plants taking a lot of Canadian cows, and as I mentioned in previous reports, the domestic demand from the smaller provincial plants was really, really strong. Our plant in Manitoba here is up to about 900 cows a week, and they were very active on the cow market. Bull market tremendously strong. Good bulls trading anywhere from 110 to 120, with sales up to 130. Everybody seems to be fighting over these bulls, and strong demand. So moving forward for next week, we're expecting spotty deliveries once again. The volatility in the market will continue. Can these cattle get any higher on these heavyweight cattle? I don't think so, unless we get some further support from the futures. But I do advise that you talk to your marketing agency to find out what the buyers are wanting and when the sales are to get them marketed. On behalf of the Livestock Markets Association of Canada, I'm Rick Wright. Stay safe, my friends.
Good afternoon. I'm Rich Smith, the Executive Director of Alberta Beef Producers. Cattle and beef producers in Alberta are relieved to see processing plant operations increasing here, and we greatly appreciate the commitment of the workers who are keeping these plants in operation. We joined with the Alberta Cattle Feeders Association in making a video of producers across Alberta thanking these plant workers for processing the beef that will keep feeding Canadians. Last week, we welcomed the leadership of the Government of Alberta in announcing $17.3 million in provincial funding for agri-recovery to match the commitment from the federal government for a fed cattle set-aside program. This program helps to address the most urgent need facing our industry with reduced processing capacities, but we know that cow-calf and backgrounding producers are extremely worried about the markets they will be facing this fall and the highly depressed market now for backgrounded cattle that are ready to go to a feedlot. We think that these producers also need to be supported now, and we will continue to ask governments to expand their support for cattle producers to include the cow-calf and backgrounding sectors.
Hi, it's Ryder with the Saskatchewan Cattlemen's Association. Just give you an update today. The provincial government announced $10 million of support to the Saskatchewan cattle industry. The first $5 million is to match the federal announcement for a set-aside program for fat cattle. The other $5 million is to go towards offsetting some of the COVID-19 impacts on price insurance premiums. So that's the province's share. They're 40%. They'd like the federal government to step in with a 60% match on that premium program, and we would like that very much as well. That price insurance program does apply to all classes of cattle, so that's really going to be helpful for producers looking to grab a hold of what the market's offering right now for a more affordable price. And of course, that set-aside program to help fat cattle producers and some of the costs that are mounting as we wait for processing plants to get back up to speed. So we're appreciative of our provincial government coming forward with these, and we hope that when Prime Minister Trudeau mentioned that they were taking first steps last week, here's a spot where they can take further steps.